Hello everyone, welcome to yet another session of Indo-Indians Cooking Shuki. This is our very first session for 2021, and to start it off, we thought about doing a topic which is the basic of cooking, which is all about how we keep our kitchen, the hygiene related to the kitchen, how we shop, how we store, and then how we cook. So this is all the basics. So this is the background info that we should all know and we all practice, but it's great to have these reminders and great to learn new tips and new techniques from our group of experts. So we are crowdsourcing all the intelligence together. We talk about cutting down calories, we talk about vegan, we talk about how to become fit and healthy through nutritious food, but there is a science behind this. There's a reason why we are doing this. And we have a panel of experts today which Jyoti Chawla, our facilitator, will share with you. So over to you, Jyoti.
Thank you, Poonam. A very happy new year to everybody. It's great to see everyone. Poonam rightly said it's about a different part of cooking shuking. I think we are going backwards in a way because we were talking about food and recipes, and now we're talking about basic food science in terms of hygiene, storage, which is equally important, just the way cooking is. So you cook it in a right way and then it works best. So quite excited. This was a show which Aparna and I really wanted Poonam to have for some time, and there we have it. So we have an expert panel which comprises of a beautiful lady called Nidhi Kahnija. She's the principal at the Mantari Intercultural School in Jakarta, been there for many years. During the lockdown, she has been very active on her Instagram. So if you haven't joined her Instagram, please do join. She does some very creative cooking and beautifully presented. Then we have Kavita Kapoor, which needs no introduction because she's somebody whose cakes and cookies you've eaten everywhere in Jakarta. You've seen her at the bazaars, you've seen her on Instagram, and very creative. And I must compliment her that, she's been a very busy mom of two, but she's actually, worked on this talent and brought it up and doing very, very well now. So that's Kavita Kapoor. Then we have our very own Gitika. Gitika runs a restaurant called Culture. She's also very famous for feeding Prime Minister Modi during his visit to Indonesia. And she's going to show her kitchen to us, the restaurant kitchen, and how beautifully and clean she's kept it. And finally, we have Vasanti. Vasanti is going to have a recorded video sent to us. She's not very comfortable using Zoom, and we appreciate and respect that. But because we couldn't have completed this without her, she has some immensible knowledge which she's sharing with us on some pots and pans. So that's what the show is all about today. Everybody uses their kitchen in the way they are comfortable with, or what practices you see as a child growing up with your mom, with your mother-in-law, and friends you visit, and you keep picking up tips here and there, what works for you all. Similarly, over the years, I have picked up some stuff which I use in my kitchen, and I'll just share some of those. It may sound a little OCD, but that's what works for me. So if you like it, keep it. If you don't, let it be. So I have separate chopping boards for separate things. Like I use a separate chopping board for bread, a separate one for vegetables, a separate one for meats, and definitely a separate one for fruits, because somehow I just feel that they smell and you need to clean them a little differently as well. So, and similarly, separate knives. I don't like eating fruit which smells of garlic. So I do have a separate knife which I use only for fruits, and the help in the house is trained to do the same. Obviously, bread knives are differently serrated, so we all use a different bread knife. But meat, vegetables, sometimes you could use a common knife, but definitely not the same chopping board, because somehow, and especially the wooden chopping boards, things get ingrained into it. So I'm just not very comfortable with that. I have a regular weekly cleaning routine of my chopping boards. So once a week is planned for all. So it's a simple procedure, especially the wooden ones. I put baking soda and leave it for some time. Then I put a splash of vinegar and then leave it for 5 minutes. And then I take fresh squeezed, or actually I just chop a lemon into two and just scrub it with that. And that's done like once a week for all chopping boards, whether it's fruit, vegetables, meats, whatever it is. The wooden ones I want to show you, I use this from IKEA. This is like a little oil, which is used for chopping boards. It's easily available on all IKEAs, and you could even order online. And this just preserves the wood ones. Otherwise, if you leave the wood ones untreated, then it kind of cracks up after a few months. If you don't have this oil, don't worry. Just use any cooking oil that you have. So basically just grease it well, you know, just like the way we used to do in the olden days, the wooden belan chakla. I used to see my mom do that after washing the belan chakla. And that's exactly what we do with chopping board. So just season it, so to say, after usage, and they last you much longer, and they feel also good and not rough and dry and cracking up. The other one is I use a separate cheese grater. I don't grate the cheese in the same I grate my garlic or whatever. So that's the one. Taking my OCD a little further, I have a separate bowl in which we beat eggs. I don't like to cook in, you know, like any bowl that I have put, that's a separate one, and a separate pan for cooking eggs. Because sometimes, because eggs have a very strong smell, you make an omelette and you use the same pan for making something else. Or, you know, as Indians, we sometimes just put the omelette on the tawa and you make a paratha after that, you can smell the egg. And somehow it doesn't. So I do a separate egg beating bowl, and there's a separate pan in which all egg preparations are made. So that's an egg thing. This is something I have learned from Aparna and Bela, which is setting yogurt in individual pots. Well, I have started to do that, and I am loving it because it gives me a perfect set portion every time. And these two ladies had been doing it for some time, and just one of the conversations, I realized Bela had mentioned that she doesn't like yogurt which is being cut and it gets watery, right? If you set the yogurt at home, it gets watery. So I just use small, beautiful jars or bowls and just set it separately. And each time you need, you just pick up one portion and it doesn't ruin the other. So I'm loving that tip and I enjoy that. Washing and cleaning meats, I usually, whenever I bring any fresh meats, I put them in a big bowl of water and I put vinegar in it. And I let it sit for 5 minutes. And after that, whatever, you know, like every time we squeeze lemons, we keep those rind for the day. And we just, I'll show my jars. Pavni is asking my jar. Give me a second.
So, but there has also been this thing about not washing meat and, just not doing a lot of adding water to your meats. What is your view on that?
Poonam, I agree with that, but it doesn't work for me. I'm not able to cook a fresh chicken which I brought home or a fresh raw mutton without washing. Especially with these times, definitely not. But otherwise also, I think it just kind of takes away whatever bacteria is there on the surface. So that's how I'm doing it right now.
Oh, so sweet.
So you just open one and...
Excellent.
So with my mince, what I do, Pavni is asking, I take one of those atta chalnis. We have the very finest one and I put my mince in it and I just let water run in it. And the last rinse, I just put a lot of water with a dash of vinegar in it and run past that. So that's how I do for my mince also. I guess I am not so knowledgeable. I don't have a culinary background to say whether it's right or wrong, but it works for me. So that's what I've been doing. And so far, we've all been doing all right. So I guess so. And the last one I want to share is dry fruits. I like to put dry fruits in the freezer, not even in the lower basket in the refrigerator, except raisins. I put raisins and prunes and apricots there because they're kind of used more often and they are, I don't know how they would be, but my walnuts and pine nuts and almonds and everything is in the freezer. And I take out only as much as I need for that moment, because I've realized even if I take out a small portion and put it in a bottle, especially walnuts and pine nuts, they become rancid. And it just doesn't taste so nice, no matter what you can do. Even if you toast them or something, it doesn't work. So just take out the portion that you need and that's it, and leave it in the deep freezer. So
Great.
that's some of the things that...
Yeah, definitely slightly OCD, but...
Yeah, it gets a little difficult when you're training somebody in the kitchen to do the same, but
Yeah,
Got to do that.
no, but good tips, good tips. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And you've been doing it for a long time. You've been attached and familiar with how large kitchens work. So I'm sure you have also picked up from them.
Like
Something.
the yogurt tip, honestly, I picked up from both these ladies, and I'm very happy because it really works very well. Everybody gets a fresh set yogurt.
Yeah.
And just feels good as well.
Yeah.
And no mess in the rest of the bowl.
Correct. Thanks, Jyoti.
Thank you. Poonam, back to you.
Yeah,
Let's hear some tips from you now.
Yes. In fact, what I wanted to share was how do we store our dals, our grains, our flours? Because, the worst thing is you want to cook, but when you open your pack, there are weevils in it. It's the worst thing. It's the worst feeling. You don't want to cook with any dal which has got weevils in it, or you want to, and sometimes if your spices or something has weevils in it, you will find them all over the kitchen. It is the most horrible thing to have. And there are ways you can prevent this. And, I'd just like to share my screen so we can just go through it. So I just wanted to talk about how do you store your grains? So number one, don't buy too much.
Yes.
So that is the first tip. Just buy 1 kg or half kg at a time. There is no need to buy tons of it and then think about storing it. And so that you have manageable quantities. A very easy way is to first buy whatever you buy, you put it in the freezer for 4 days. You freeze it. When you freeze it, you're killing all the eggs, the weevils, etc. And then you can take it out and store it in a glass bottle, which has a nice tight lid. So even if there are weevils in it, they will not go and cross-infect your other grains and food stuff. The other good tip is to use clove, the long. And if you put 4-5 long into your bottle of dal or your jar of dal, then that will help prevent, because of the aromatic oils in it, these weevils don't like it. You can also put bay leaves, neem leaves. These are, traditionally what our mothers used to do. And like Kavita also shared with me, you can, when you buy your grains, you can put them in the sunlight. So you're drying them up. So they're absolutely dry and they're not moist. So first of all, buy small quantities, inspect what you're buying. Does it have any weevil? Because they're bought in plastic bags. Turn the plastic bag upside down. See if there's this powder there, if you can see any weevils. And only then buy when you're convinced that this is a fresh batch. When we live in Jakarta, the stuff that we get is sometimes, it could have been months before it has come to us.
Yeah.
And that allows the perfect conditions for weevils to grow. It's a tropical climate, it's moist, it's dark, it's the perfect climate for weevils. So just be very careful. Number one, what is it that you're buying? Clean your pantry, clean where you're doing. Once in a regularly, take out everything, check everything so that you know that you don't have weevils. Yeah. Discard anything and everything which has weevils in it. Vacuum everything inside your pantry so that you pick up every egg, etc., etc. And then, as Jyoti was mentioning, vinegar is a great thing. You can wipe your shells with vinegar and then kind of disinfect it. Always discard your garbage before you sleep.
Yes.
Discard your garbage. I think that is the biggest, simplest tip. You can stay away cockroaches, mice, everything. There's no garbage in your house. And check regularly. So it's, these are all super simple tips, nothing rocket science about it. But yes, I'm happy to answer any questions if they are there. And Aparna says that cloves and bay leaves work very well. Yes. Yeah. And Meenu is saying that you can roast suji, dalia, etc. before storing. Correct. Absolutely. That's also great.
Very well. Yes, absolutely.
So these are just storage tips.
I used to put these tablets, which we even used to get it in Indonesia, called parad.
Yeah.
And I just put a few tablets in everything. Apparently, it's a medicinal thing and people eat those tablets when prescribed. So it's not harmful if it goes into your cooking by mistake. But they also work very well.
Yeah. So I like the fact, the long is a great idea. Or in Indonesia, you get so much long and it is so cheap.
And very good ones.
Yes. Madhu says that putting garlic also works wonders.
Okay.
It's also nice.
Garlic, whole garlic, Madhu.
I think it would be the whole garlic.
Whole garlic.
Yeah. So that's it from me. So short tips on how to store your grains. And now over to you, Jyoti.
Thank you very much. We now have our first speaker coming on board, which is Nidhi.
No, Kavita.
Kavita. Sorry. Kavita, let's come over to you now.
Thank you, Poonam, and thank you, Jyoti. And thank you everybody here for tuning in and sparing your precious time. Since we are talking about food safety, I would just like to mention what exactly food safety means. Of course, if you open the internet, there is volumes and volumes to read upon. But for us laymen, in a very, very simply put, it would basically, food safety is defined as a routine in preparation, handling, and storage of food meant to prevent foodborne illness and injury. And that is exactly what we want. We do not want our families and the people eating the food to fall sick. Now, food is actually the most traded commodity in this world. Because, if you think of an event, if you think of a meeting, if you think of anything, the first thing that comes to mind is food. And more so with us Indians, we all love food. Now, a growing world population means there is always more food that has to be produced and more food has to be distributed. Globalization means, we are all traveling all over the place and we want different things available in different countries. So again, that food has to be transported. And then, of course, these days, there's the new challenges of allergies, bacteria, virus strains. See, in the pandemic, we are all down. So we all really want to be careful that what we are eating and what we are cooking at home is definitely safe. So basically, the food that reaches us, be it flour, be it pulses, be it grains, be it the ground powders, in whatever way the food reaches us, it goes through a lot of processes. Actually, the food goes through a lot of health hazards before it before it leaves the farm, from the farm to the production website, to the production site, and then finally, to your plate and to your fork. So the next time when you're munching your samosa, or if you're eating, something which has been made, just think of the ingredients that have gone in and what complex distribution channels it has gone in, so that it reaches you safely. Now, keeping this in mind, the world bodies, they have, all countries have put in some certain simple procedures, which I'm sure, most of us would have read on the packs. Some of them are called HACCP, HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, or the GMP, that's a good manufacturing practice, or the ISO, which are the international procedures, which all these big companies have to follow. And basically, these are complex procedures which are based on, science, chemistry, and engineering. Now, further, to make it simpler, the FDA of different countries, FDA is basically a Food and Drug Authority, which could be named differently in different countries. They have come up with certain simple charts which commercial establishments selling food, the supermarkets who sell food, or people who deal with food, they can follow. And that also can be followed in our kitchen, So I have kind of, just taken some of these charts and tried to put them on a slide. And these charts are actually very simple. And like, as I've been hearing Jyoti and Poonam, most of us are definitely doing it at home because, we Indians are definitely finicky. And this finickiness has actually been given to us by our ancestors. So things like cleaning, keeping your pots and pans clean, all this is a part of hygiene, which has been taught to us, and their dadima and nanima's nuskas. But for the sake of simplicity, since I've been asked to put a slide, I've just put some of these on a slide. So
Poonam, in fact, when Kavita was mentioning this, I told her that, because when we look at when we go shopping at a supermarket, we'll pick up a product, and if we are a vegetarian, we'll just check if it has eggs or not. If we are allergic to peanuts, we'll check if it has peanuts or not. But yes, we don't really understand all the labels that you just mentioned about, good manufacturing practices or the HACCP, etc. And I think that requires a chart, which, I'm sure you'll point us in the right direction and we can download that. But a point that you made, Kavita, was about trolley, supermarket trolley.
Yes,
and
yes.
maybe we can start with that.
Yes, yes. So
let me share the screen.
Yes, please.
So just one of the things that I do is always check expiry on any package that I pick up.
Yeah, that's a good tip, really good tip. Check this expiry.
Expiry of everything from a namkeen packet to a cheese to whatever, just,
Yeah.
While we
in fact, they say that the handle of the supermarket trolley has over 4,000 germs, 4,000 types of germs. So that is from where you start buying things for your home.
Correct. So I don't know how many of you have done it, but I have definitely put my child in the supermarket trolley.
We've all done
it. Actually is the start or the breeding ground for all germs, the bhandar of germs that we would say in our language. Because when there are so many people who are handling the supermarket trolley. Like, as it's shown here on the slide, the groceries that are exposed, they are groceries, unwrapped material which has been kept in that trolley. There is raw eggs, meat, and produce. Sometimes these packages leak. We really do not know. Or possibly the packet of meat which we've picked up, or the packet of peas which we've picked up was kept next to a packet which had already, ruptured while it was there in the freezer. And we are not aware of it. So these pathogens are easily transferred from the trolley onto the cash registers, onto the till, and onto our hands. So, it kind of just keeps multiplying. Another thing is that what I have also learned while I was doing this is that possibly because of the way the supermarkets are made in Jakarta, the minute I enter a supermarket, I first go and buy my perishables. Possibly, when you enter, you just see the greens there. So one starts with buying the greens and the fruits and the vegetables. And then later we go on to the dry goods. And then we start jostling, our trolley, trying to make place. So what they say is that first buy your non-perishables, buy your dry goods first. And then towards the end, go and buy your greens, and last buy your milks and cheeses, the products which are the most sensitive. And if you are staying far away, or if you feel you're going to be in traffic, so it's better to take your cold bags with you. So you can put all your frozen stuff in those bags. Of course, you can keep it inside, your car, because the cars have got ACs. But still, these are some of the tips which have been given by FDA and which I'm just reading out. So we have to use our own judgment.
That part with the ice box, because I do that and I've never shared it on this slide because I really thought that will make me a total OCD. But I do keep a small ice box, for yogurts and stuff, because you don't know how long you're going to take. So thank you for sharing that. That doesn't make me OCD.
Yeah. Another thing that we were talking about was, expiry. Now, there are certain products which have an expiry date and a use by date. So basically, the manufacturer is telling you, a use by doesn't really mean it's going to get expired or it's bad, especially where yogurt is concerned. But then again, they say, open it. If it smells bad, looks bad, throw it. And surprisingly, many a times, food which is contaminated tastes, smells, and looks good, but we actually do not know it's contaminated. So again, be judicious. And yes, very, very important, wash your grocery bag regularly.
Yes.
I think these days in COVID, most of us are doing it, and also, putting it out in the sun to dry. So we are safe in that way.
But yeah, these are some of the practices we were not so consciously doing, but yeah, true. Absolutely.
So these are simple tips, just refresher for all of us.
Yes.
The next slide is food safety: clean, separate, cook, and chill. Exactly in that order is where they ask you to remind you of the 3 C's and 1 S. First is clean. Everybody these days is onto the happy birthday song, washing, and the happy birthday song. And then also they say when you get home your products, please clean them first. First clean your counters, and then separate your food. Separate the meats, separate the vegetables, and separate your pulses and whatever material that you have purchased from the supermarket. Third is cook well. This, I think, in our case, again, because of our Indian kitchens, we any which way temper our food so much or cook our food to such high degrees, and we have this garam garam fanda. So I don't think we really, we have, raw food that much, or we do rare food. What we actually do is absolutely well done food. So there we are a little safe, I would say. And the last is chill. Chill is where, again, in another slide, the same thing is mentioned, is if you're cooking your food, try and chill your food. In fact, food which is cooked for more than 2 hours should go into the refrigerator. So basically, it's plus or minus 2 hours is what they tell you. And if in very high soaring temperatures, like in Delhi, where the temperatures reach 35 plus, then it reduces to 1 hour. Because some of the curries have got tomatoes and things which are citrus that that starts making the food deteriorate very fast.
Right. Right. That's good.
Yeah. Then,
Kavita,
yeah.
when you shared this slide, it was
Yes.
the first point. Number one is so important. And, we sometimes don't even think about it. But really, if you're sick, or you shouldn't cook.
Yeah.
You shouldn't cook.
Yeah.
And there was another thing there about potlucks, but then I just thought I should not mention it here because it gets impractical, where they actually said, like, the author was writing that she's one of those renowned authors who speaks, who's on the FDA panel. And she says that whenever she's invited for a talk, and after the talk, when she's asked to share the food, the first thing she says no, because she feels that the food which has been kept out for so long that I do not know whether I want to eat it or no. So the best is I politely refuse and I move ahead.
Yeah.
So the first one is don't prepare food for others if you're sick, sniffles, vomiting, diarrhea, or any other symptoms, because bacteria gets lodged into your nails, which we do not know. And this is, like Jyoti would be knowing, and of course Geetika will agree with me, in commercial kitchens, one really, really has to pay attention to that. And that's the reason chefs have to cut their nails absolutely short. So no nail polish for us.
Yeah, and in fact, even if your help is unwell, please don't let them in.
Yeah.
Yes. True. So remove rings and wash hands properly before you start. Clean your counters. And by cleaning your counters, they say pre and post. Particularly if you've been using non-vegetarian food, you've been touching meat. It's very, very important to clean your counter. And if suppose you're cooking meat or you're marinating meat, so you're marinating the meat and your plate is kept there, and then you start cooking the meat, or you fried the chicken. Don't ever put your cooked piece of non-vegetarian back onto the plate which held raw meat, because that means you're causing cross-contamination again.
Yes.
Because that's been out for quite some time. And if in case there were contaminants in that raw meat, it's actually got cooked in your pot. So what you're doing is, you're reinventing the wheel. You're going back a step.
In fact, I really like your step number 7, because I think 6 is something that Jyoti spoke about, but 7 is something really important.
Don't leave your dishes to pile up in the sink. This is actually a nasty habit of laziness or convenience, but a theme packed for bacteria.
Imagine you went to sleep with your kitchen sink full of dirty utensils. Gosh, it is really the most unhealthy thing for you.
And that's also the breeding ground for cockroaches.
And rats.
Yes, just a small thing here. Like Jyoti said, Jyoti, you're using wooden boards, but from what I have read is where, of course, you're taking very good care of your boards by oiling them and drying them out and disinfecting them. But they say avoid wooden boards, especially for meats. For non-vegetarian, avoid wooden boards, because somehow, some bacteria tends to get lodged into it. So preferable to use plastic or to use glass. But then again, since you're taking absolutely good care and you're oiling it and you're drying it out very well, basically you're not allowing the mold to develop on it. So that's a good practice in itself. Then keep waste food in a closed bin, preferably use bins with pedals.
Yes.
Because otherwise, while cooking, you want to tip, you want to tip, and then you just might touch without really knowing it. It's just accidents, and accidents happen. And last is sanitize your faucet on a regular basis, which again, I think we OCD Indians are definitely doing it every day. Our counters are cleaned with soap and disinfectants, and definitely the taps also are cleaned. Like my mother-in-law, she would actually sit and clean even the wash basin tap every day. I used to see her doing it. So
Very
yeah.
true.
Great. That's true. That's absolutely true. Thank you so much, Kavita. Some regular stuff, some very insightful things like, yes, we've all done the shopping trolley. Definitely, we don't think so much when we have a little bit of flu, like, we are done and we can go cook for the house, or the help is doing that. So definitely great tips to keep it in mind. Especially when you said separate the foods. Sometimes we come back after grocery, we're so exhausted, just dump everything, and then we'll see later when we need it. So great tips. Thank you so much. And Pavni says your chocolate fudge cake is a hit. So there's a feather in that. Yeah. I must read that out to you. It was sounding also very nice and very tempting. I miss that though. Okay, we move on now to Nidhi. Nidhi, actually, we move to Poonam first. Poonam, are you going to do the cooked storage food, or Nidhi is doing that?
No. I'm not doing. I'm done.
Okay.
I had done a slide on it, actually, the cooked storage food. You can just put it up.
So we come down to asking Nidhi to join us. Nidhi is joining us for the first time on the show. And as I said earlier, Nidhi is very, very creative with her food stuff, and you should see her Instagram. It's very, very interesting. And Nidhi is going to talk about two things. Firstly, she's going to speak about food storages, which is all kind of food storages. And she's also going to talk about terracotta pots and pans. Now, that's a real big trend in Indonesia and in India. I mean, everywhere that I have gone, there are different kinds of, I can even see a pressure cooker made of terracotta, which is quite surprising. And even in Indonesia, actually, if you actually go down to the smaller markets, you always see some terracotta pots and pans. So I'm quite looking forward to looking and hearing both of that. So over to you, Nidhi, and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
So much, Jyoti. As I told Poonam earlier, that it's difficult to say no to you. So here I am. Of course, not an expert, but I'll try to do justice to, I don't know if I will, but I'll try.
Sure.
Anyway, so I will be talking more about, before I talk about myself or my preparation towards this show, I would mention one thing. You were talking about the food storage that you should clean up your bins. I will say one more thing to that. If possible, make a compost for yourself so that you don't have any wastage of food materials, which is what I'm doing as well. So I'm quite passionate about it. So I thought I'll just mention it.
Great. I shall pick that with you on a later forum.
Sure. Okay, so when it comes to our fruits and vegetables, something that we need to know is something called ethylene gas, or we'd say whether we call it moisture or wetness. Ethylene gas it helps to ripen the fruit, or you can say it is an aging hormone for the fruits. So it is natural occurrence. Vegetables don't release that actually. That's why they are very susceptible to get its effect. Now there's a good effect and the bad effect to that. When you say good effect, it's like your fruits getting sweet or ripened or sweet, or it even includes germination, But when you talk about the bad effects, it's like yellowing of fruits or spotting or decay or either wilting of them. So let's see how we will. I'm only talking about two major things here. I will be touching on the greens, which is, I'm sure everyone must be doing. Probably if there's something different, you can pick it up. And I will be talking about the meat, poultry, red, and fishes storage. So may I have the slide, please?
Sure.
So when you talk about fruits and vegetables, of course, we all know that we will be doing them separately. We will stock our fruits in a separate way and the veggies or greens in the separate, because, we need to take into account something called wetness or moisture. Moisture is good, but if the humidity goes too high, what happens is we tend to decay or ruin our greens. Now, when you're talking about greens, there are two ways of doing it. You cut them, either you cut them, chop them, or you just simply tear them. It will depend on the end usage of your green or how you're going to use it. Then you can either place a napkin, a dry towel inside either your container or a Ziploc. And if, like, we have different OCDs for ourselves, I don't use plastics in my house. I have these silicone bags. So I place it inside, and that's how I store my veggies. And another way of doing it, like you saw, this is another way. It's just the jar that you are putting your greens in, but you can take a jar, fill 3/4 of water here, and place your root down, so that what will happen is you will be having your full leaf later on to be used as your salads and stuff, and you can cover it either with your storage bag which you brought before. Of course, you will wash it first, and either with that, or you can also use your Ziploc bag. So this is.
Can I stop you, Nidhi, and ask you that when you start doing this, do you wash and dry your greens first?
Yes, you should. Okay, there are some greens, for example, you shouldn't be washing all of them. For example, like mint or like dhania, what I have experienced with myself is if I wash them and store it, they are not good anymore. Whereas other salad leaves, you wash them, you dry it a little bit, and then you pack it with that. But I definitely don't wash my cilantro. I don't do that because it gets, for me, it hasn't worked. I don't know whether I'm doing it something which is not correct, but it has never worked for me. So I always get it, I let it dry, I cut it, chop it properly, and then when I'm using it, that's when I wash it. So yeah, sometimes you really have to weigh the quality. But whereas in India, I used to wash it. I don't know what's the difference, but in India, I used to wash it and then I would store it in a container. I don't know whether it is the quality or it is the fertility or what is making it different. I have no clue about that. Okay, so the next one is our meat, poultry. Another thing I do is when I bring a lot of greens, I also put them, I label them. So what happens is I know that this was put in, say, first week of January, so I'll use that first. So I don't pack it in big boxes or big containers or big plastics. I make small portions so that I can use it once. Once it is out, it is consumed and I don't have to put it back. So this also helps because, taking out of the freezer and bringing it fridge and bringing them back also decays them faster. Now, another thing for poultry, meat, or fish, this is very, not really tricky actually, but if we are a little bit careful, first thing that we need to do is we need to find out the consumption for our family. For instance, if two chicken breasts are okay for my family needs for a dinner, I would always try to put them together in one bag so that when it sits out, it's done, and then I don't have to put it back again in the fridge. What I do is I always wrap that particular piece of meat or poultry or fish in one parchment paper. Either you call it parchment paper, kartas minyak they call it, wax paper, oil paper. So those paper, you cut it based on the sizes you have, it's the size of the meat, and you put it properly. It should be, it should be well covered, no moisture inside, and then you place it in your Ziploc or in your plastic container. And of course, I always label them so you can see those labels, those Tom and Jerry, you call it here. I put them on and then I know, okay, this is the first one that I would want to use. And of course, I also label with breasts or leg or whatever kind of a piece it is, whether it's a red meat, whether it is just chicken or. So that's how I freeze my meat. And when I have to take it out, of course, I need to defrost before I, get into marination or anything. For that, what I do is I take a big container, I put some warm water inside it, I place my plastic into it, put a weight on top of that, and that weight stays there for 10-15 minutes, and then I turn it and do the same thing. And things are okay. So far, I am doing fine using these tricks and
okay.
my
There is a question, Nidhi, from Aparna, which she says she did not really understand how you keep the fresh leaves in the bottles, the fresh greens in the bottles. If you want to just walk us past quickly.
Okay, so if you're using the whole, for instance, you have kale or you have your salad leaves, and you do not want to break the leaves or chop them or do anything with them. So what you want to use is a bottle or a jar. So you fill 1/4 with water and you place it straight up.
Yeah,
it's like putting flowers in a vase.
Yes,
exactly.
And then you cover it with either your grocery bag, or you clean it first, of course, wipe it, and then you put it, or you use your Ziploc, and then you can put it in your fridge. But there are some, well, for Indonesia, everything has to go in fridge. Not much can stay outside, except for, what do you call that?
Spring onions.
Lemongrass as well. It grows very wonderful in a vase. In any vase you use, lemongrass grows wonders.
Yeah. Maybe I have a question. You were talking about the meats getting wrapped in the parchment. So the one which you're freezing, also you put it in parchment and then is a Ziploc?
Yes, always.
Not straight away in the Ziploc?
No.
And why would you not put straight away in the Ziploc before freezing?
They say, I mean, I have heard, this is what my mother-in-law used to do as well. What she would do, she says that it helps to retain all the and the goodness that it has, so, and it doesn't get freezer burn.
Yes.
So that's important too.
Okay. Because I so far just put it in the Ziploc, portion size, you're right, and then freeze it.
But my mom never did it. I learned it from my mother-in-law. So I'm using it. I'm doing it now, and I find it quite helpful.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jyoti, basically parchment or brown paper bag, they allow the products to breathe. Like if you're storing your cheese, after you've used your cheese, you cut off your cheese, you wrap your cheese in parchment, and then you loosely put it into a cling wrap bag or in any of your Ziploc bags, and then put it in the refrigerator, because cheese needs to breathe. Yeah. Similarly for mushrooms also. So the parchment is actually making the moisture intact.
Yes, and zucchini as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. Good to know. Yes, let's go ahead.
Yes, with terracotta now.
Sure. Do we have any questions for this so far?
I think the question was answered regarding how to store the leaves and especially the parchment paper. I think that was a good thing. And but we are all very interested in cooking in terracotta pots, because now we've moved into very hi-fi nano ceramic pots and like space age pots. So this is going back to the roots.
Absolutely. Actually, for me, anything related to mud, I am just in love with it, whether it is mud bath, whether it is mud facial. I am so into it, and I so love all these, traditional back into the root kind of utensils. So terracotta has become my top favorite as of now. And I've been cooking in that from several years, because there are some dishes that I cannot even think of not cooking in terracotta, like something with saag, or something like dal makhni, or something, or saag mutton or saag gosht, all those things. It has to be. These are from the time that I have grown up with, and I cannot think of them without that. So I will just talk about the goodness of why cook in terracotta. Going on to the next. Okay, so I will talk about the benefits. First is like health benefit. There are many nutritive values attached to terracotta, So we have clay adds many nutrients to our food, like calcium, phosphorus, iron, magnesium, and even sulfur. And they are extremely very, very important to our body. Now, if clay is also considered alkaline, So when you cook the food in such kind of a pot, it balances your pH value or pH value in the food. It acts as a natural detox, neutralizes the acidity in the food, and it makes it easier for us to digest. So that is something very, very helpful if we are cooking in such kind of a pot. And it also help with different kinds of vitamins like B12. the making in terracotta also helps in that it takes care of a kind of vitamin B12, which helps to cure a kind of anemia, if we are having low counts in our hemoglobin. Now, it is also porous. We all know that, it consumes, or it is very porous. Now, when you are cooking in such kind of a container or such kind of a pot, it allows the heat and moisture to circulate evenly. You're slow cooking it, your veggies are cooking in that. So when the heat is going around evenly, the juiciness and the tenderness of any vegetable or meat remains there. So it stays with it. Now, one thing that I think we all are very much obsessed, at least, my friends are, about something about weight loss. So how it can help in weight loss is, excess oil, of course, it will lead to a weight gain, right? But when you're cooking in a clay pot, it requires less oil. Now, why? Because of its nature, it takes longer time to heat and it stays there for a long time. Slow cooking happens, and the natural oils present in the food, they are able to retain, and they are able to maintain the moisture of that natural food. It is the aroma is there, not the aroma of the terracotta itself, but the aroma of the food also gets retained in such kind of cooking. And of course, it's pocket friendly. And definitely, if you will try to make anything, you think you want to make a simple dal, you will be able to have a different taste in your mouth of that simple dal that you're making in terracotta. It just changes, the taste changes exponentially, I would say.
Nidhi, on a quick note, so when you bring a new terracotta pot, how do you start using it?
Okay, so preparing that, you have different ways, because nowadays you don't have to do any treatment with the terracotta pots because they are already treated and they're ready to use. But if you are bringing a terracotta pot, say, which has not been treated, then you have to put it in water overnight, let it soak. You can, after you take it in the morning, when you take out from the water, just glaze it with oil, and then it's ready to use. But nowadays, the terracotta that you're getting here in Jakarta, or the one that you're getting back home in India as well, they are ready to use. You bring it and you can use them straight away. I have a very favorite shop in India. It's called the Handicraftian. It's on IG, and I'm in love with that shop. That would be my high-end buying shop this time when I go back home. I'm in love with its buckets and everything.
Yeah, they do have some good stuff. I've actually seen a pressure cooker made of terracotta, and I was quite amazed. Does it really work like a normal utensil? Because it's a full pressure cooker and it's all terracotta except the whistle on top.
Yeah.
So I think Pavani has a very good question, which I have too, is how do you clean your pot? Because as you mentioned, it is porous. So when you're cooking things in it, some of the food material can stay on in the pores.
And the flavors.
Yes. And the flavors. So how do you clean your pots?
Cleaning tips that Jyoti had given will work wonders with it, because when you are cleaning your pots, you can again put some hot water. So when I say, for instance, I'm using the pot, I've made gosht in it. Of course, I'll not make a vegetable in it again, right? So what I do is, after I've cooked, after I've washed, I'll put some hot water and I'll put it on the fire for boil. Okay. So, everything goes out. I'll wash it again, and then like a dash of vinegar works wonders. You add that, and if you are like, we all have that OCD factor in us, I put it under the sun for some time, and then I bring it in.
What do you put it in the sun? Okay. So that was the other question. Can you put it directly on flame?
Yes.
I don't know about induction, but definitely on flame.
So, just a little going off tangent. Do you know that in when they have these clay pots for tea in Japan, and then you keep making green tea in that same pot, and then after a certain amount of time, you just have to put hot water and you get tea.
Yeah.
So
much of sediment.
absorbs the flavor of the tea.
The flavor gets in, yeah.
True. So Aparna says, what kind of spoon do you use to stir them? Steel or wood?
It's best to use wood, actually. But I don't know if the steel would harm. Somebody technical would be able to tell you that, because if I remember, my mom used to use the steel one, but here, because the wood is very, available everywhere, I use the wood spoon. But I've also kept my terracotta for making non-veg different than terracotta for making my dals and veggies different, just to let you know.
Okay. Do you use a terracotta tawa as well?
I would love to, but I haven't started it yet.
Okay. All right. Great. Great. Thank you. That was a great enlightenment.
In fact, there's a question from Rajni about cooking rice in clay pot.
Oh, awesome. They are just awesome. You can do that and you will love it, and you won't make it in any other pot thereafter.
Is it?
Yes.
How nice.
Especially if you talk of biryani, dum biryani. Oh, wow. I'm drooling already. The thought of it, making me drool.
Yeah, because what I hear is it's very hard to burn your food in a clay pot. You really have to really work hard at burning it because of the width of it or whatever that may be, or because of the porousness. It's very hard to burn your food in it. So that's something, that's why a lot of restaurants use handis.
In Punjabi, there is a saying, Sahaj pake so meetha hoye.
Yes.
So if you are cooking in this, you don't have a choice. Sahaj hi pakega, because it is a slow cooking process.
So somebody is asking, Reshma is asking, is clay pot similar to terracotta?
Yeah, terracotta. Actually, yeah, I think yes. It's just the treatment that they have given. Yes. Terracotta is a higher treatment. Clay, when you say it's a little bit lower treatment, but if you go and buy in a local market here, the stuff that they're giving is ready to use. When you say it's ready to use, it's more of terracotta.
Yeah. Right.
And similar to India and Jakarta, it's available at every wet market you walk in. You've got all
such beautiful ones are available in Tokopedia.
Absolutely. Here I find it even at a nursery who is selling pots and pans in terracotta. So
now we have Geetika.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nidhi. That was great and something new we all learned. Over to Geetika.
Hi everyone. Hi Jyoti.
Good to see you, Geetika. So Geetika is the owner of the restaurant called Culture, which I think almost everybody in Jakarta has visited and enjoyed her food. And she's going to show us her kitchen and her best tips.
So Geetika, can I ask you to make your phone into landscape mode so that we can see more of you?
Okay.
Yes, perfect.
So hi.
Hi.
This is my kitchen. And today I'm going to speak about hygiene in kitchen, as Jyoti has asked me. So I'm very particular about cleaning actually, and I cannot explain too much, but I can show you practically that how I keep my kitchen clean.
Let's
so basically, can you see here?
Yes.
Yes. So basically what, like if I have learned from my family and from the when I was very young that the kitchen should be kept very clean, and my mother used to say that the kitchen is like a temple, so where you do your worship. So like similarly, like in a temple we always clean first. The temple always should be clean and then only we worship. So the food is only when the kitchen is clean, then only we cook. So that's why I always tell my staff, even at home also, that rather than cooking, cleaning is more important. So I always tell everyone that clean kitchen must be very clean. So there are a lot of chemicals I use for cleaning, and we divide cleaning in different sections, like it's a daily routine cleaning, weekly cleaning, and then monthly cleaning. So daily cleaning, like what we use in the like we use clean all racks with the soap and warm water and all our equipments.
Wow.
Even the walls.
It's really clean.
Even the walls and racks also. So everything we keep clean. We use lot of our sanitizers and cleaning hazards, this cleaning stuff, yeah, because it is related with our health. So we always clean all platforms clearly, very clean, and so like the spices box, if you see the spices box and spices we keep here, so everything we should clean every day on daily basis. On weekly basis, we clean the walls, floor every day, sinks every day, and we sanitize before we closing everything.
Really clean, Gitika.
Yeah. So, and the floor cleaning, and after the, when we close down, after that we close all these, stuff like the spoons, what we are having here. I show you like this, tools and spoons. We cover it properly.
Okay.
Once in the after closing, so that I always feel that sometimes if there is a cockroach or any ant even or fly, they lie their eggs inside, so it will be dirty. So that's why I always close that. And before we cook, we always wipe our pans or wash. If it is wet curry or something, we always wash our pans, everything. So that's how we keep always take care of the cleaning. So as I saw that Kavita has already mentioned about cleaning as well. So everyone is going about cleaning, but these are the cleaning tips. What I always use. So
Very nice, Geetika. I think those are all very good tips, and it was really nice to see your kitchen and see that you have that cleanliness and hygiene is such a big part of running a commercial kitchen like yours. I think it's really important.
Very
What
nice
is
and
clean
very
for a commercial kitchen and for a place which is doing busy right now, so it's really, really spotless clean.
Yeah.
In Poonam, do we have the
Yeah,
slide?
I'm just going to show I think the last thing on our today's show is a little recording by Vasanti. Vasanti will be sharing a little bit of how she cleans her pots and pans, especially her dosa pans, so that they don't stick and things like that. It's a very, very short.
Sorry, Poonam, there's some more things I have to share with you. That as I told you that we have mentioned that what utensils and pots we are using for what. So I would like to show you. Wait a moment.
Jyoti, I think we need to do another session.
Yeah, it looks like that.
So this is like okay. You want to do another session maybe?
Yeah, we should do another session because I think there's some things that we've not yet covered.
Yeah, there's lots. Somebody's asking for cast iron as well, and we don't have that on the show also.
Yeah, and we are not even doing different kinds of pots and pans, especially how not to use Teflon, those kind of things. We're still not touched upon. We're still on hygiene.
If you want to, in the quick jiffy, show us what are the best pots and pans that you want to show.
Okay, these are the pots and pans.
Yes.
It's a quick thing to show you.
You'll have to yes, got it.
These are the pots and pans we use. I always prefer stainless steel. Okay?
Right.
Stainless steel is always, we can cook without any guilty. And I have some for this Indian cooking for the gravies and all this thing, curries. So this is an alloy, the thick one bottom. It's not aluminum. It looks white, but it's alloy.
Okay.
same one, this is also alloy. So it's a good for the cooking as well. And yes, they are different vessels. We sometimes we cook this the hot one pot as well, as Nidhi has mentioned. We do sometimes biryani as well. We can, this is the terracotta as well, and heat resisting, and we can put it in a tandoor as well. So I use, all these equipments for the cooking. Teflon, I use Teflon with the marble layer. So it is sometimes, the Teflon, after such a long time, if you are using that, the inside some sand type of thing is coming out. But this is marble layer, which is very good and long lasting.
Yeah, and you can use any kind of spatula in it, silicone, steel, anything you can use.
Yeah, so that's it. So that's how we use everything. And then this one for the,
yes,
something you, elaichi powder or something you're fiddling.
Yes.
So I think that's
very nice. Kitika, thank you so very much. I must compliment you. Your kitchen is spotless. I mean, it's easier to keep our home kitchens clean, but it's really not easy to keep a restaurant kitchen clean, which is just not in your hands because there are many people working with you. So it's a big one. Before I go ahead to Vasanti's presentation, Poonam, there is a question for Nidhi. Everybody wants to know the shop in India where Nidhi mentioned for clay pots. Nidhi, if you want to just quickly.
Yeah, it's in Delhi, but the ship all around, it's called The Handicraft.
Can you just put it in the chat, please?
Sure. I'll do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and share.
You get it everywhere. You could, as Poonam said, you could go to Tokopedia or go to any local pasar and you will get.
Tokopedia, you will not get much of cooking materials. It will be difficult, but yeah.
Any pasar will have a lot of that.
Great. So I'm just going to now go on to
Vasanti. We can't hear her, Poonam.
Okay.
Volume.
And then plant it out with sandpaper. Wash it, wipe, dry, and use. The second tip, to season dosa tawa, cut the top of an onion, stick a fork into it.
Poonam, the audio is not very clear, so
okay.
To put her tips on a write-up and put it on the same post which you do it on the Facebook.
So I'll just post it on Facebook.
Or just put her video on the Facebook, whatever works. So because audio is not very clear right now.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, great. As Poonam rightly said, this one show is not enough. We still have lots more, and I know Poonam has been using ceramic ware for some time now, and we have some more people in Jakarta and everywhere else that I know who are a lot into cast iron and iron. So there is a lot more, but this is what we could capture in one show.
Yeah, 1 hour. In fact, there are so much more information from Kavita. She had shared more slides with us, especially on how to keep your refrigerator, where to put what in your refrigerator, and those really important information. So I think we really need to do another session on this.
Yes, absolutely. Things like how long to store what. Most of us don't know, and we end up chucking a lot of food. So yes, we had to cut short on Kavita. We're sorry about that. But you're right, we will come back and do another show.
It was nice. That's okay. It was nice that we got talking during those slides, because I was thinking these are all Dadima and common nuskas, but it's nice that we got talking and it got interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, there was paucity of time, but then it was interesting.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to look at another event. And thank you, each one of you, for taking out your time and sharing your tips. Really, really appreciate. And we will come back to you as and how there are more questions. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jyoti. That was a wonderful moderation and facilitation of all our speakers. And thank you for sharing your personal tips as well. I would like to ask all our viewers to please share your feedback, your questions. Would you like to have another show? Would you like to have more on this topic? So then we can plan another one. And if you thought this was too basic and you know all of this, then we can move on to something different.
Absolutely.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, and see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.